Hey, you're tuned in to Kana's Corner, only on 91.8 The Fan, and I told you she was coming. And as I said, you can win an Uncharted 2 poster for this very special event, so make sure to send those emails. With me today is Claudia Black. Would you like to say hi to everybody?
Hi, everyone. Nice to be here.
And I'm sorry for the volume problems. We're currently trying to fix it in the background. We will increase it in the archive, so make sure to really stay tuned and keep listening very well. But we do appreciate you being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I was curious because you actually got a chance to be a part of a very popular franchise called Uncharted 2. And were you aware of the series before you began?
Not really. I mean, I had the Xbox platform in Sydney years ago when I was doing a show called Farscape. I was asked to do a publicity event to launch Xbox. And we had to get up on stage and play against young kids and make it look like we lost, which was really hard. I hated that. Just kidding. It's not fair. I really won. And so my husband was thrilled that I came home. He was my boyfriend at the time, and he was thrilled and thought I was the best chick on earth because I came home with all these games and an Xbox that they kindly gave us. And I think he's had sort of equal, if not more, pleasure this time round. You know, us receiving a PS3 and a swathe of games, but most importantly Uncharted 2, which I've actually been able to help him play after hours of sitting in the booth watching my character navigate her way around the game.
And now, did you feel that you would ever become sort of this very sexual, sort of brave and strong character?
Well, yeah, I mean, Chloe's definitely a sort of a modern interpretation of the femme fatale, I suppose. I've ended up, very fortunately so, in science fiction playing these very empowered, very flawed, but very empowered, unique women. And it's odd because the genre itself has also been given a lot of flack for, rightfully so, for really objectifying women, certainly in the past. And I think thanks to people like, Lucy Lawless playing Xena and Linda Hamilton and Sigourney Weaver, these incredibly strong role models started coming through of these women who were very, very empowered and keeping more of their clothes on most of the time. And I really thankfully have followed in their footsteps. So it's something, these sort of roles are always the sort of roles I wanted to play, not necessarily ones that had such a sort of tormented sexuality, or as femme fatales often do use their sexuality for the wrong reasons. But I'm much more interested in playing those, the deeper characters, the more complex ones. So Chloe was an absolute delight to play, and you couldn't have a better gig than working for Naughty Dog. They're so open-minded, and their mission statement on the wall was very clear. Literally, they did have a mission statement about what Uncharted 2 had to be, and it was about being fun and having fun making it, and that it wouldn't take itself too seriously. And I was at a point in my life, often actors believe that jobs come to you at the right time, and I really, after having 2 kids and being completely sleep-deprived, was kind of crazy. Really had lost my mind, and I just wanted to get out and play and have some fun and not be too worried about, how I had to look in front of the camera and put too much pressure on myself to sort of get back in shape. And the beauty of this job was that it was a bit of everything. It was like theatre, film, and television all rolled into one.
Now, Richard was on a little bit earlier, and he told us a bit about how you guys all had to do the motion capture. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
It's motion capture is a really interesting way of working because it really does, wearing these suits, the technology is so advanced that it really does pick up the individual's body signature in a very clear way, even in its crudest form. On the software, using the software in the studio, they would put up a crude version of our movements on the screen, and it was really precise. I would make minute adjustments along my spine, and it would pick up everything. So you could tell the days that when we started, they wanted us to get into a certain number of positions so that we could calibrate with the computers. And you could tell the days that I hadn't been to yoga because I was sort of really in bad alignment. So science, just the science of it was fascinating to me. And then on top of that, it's a wonderful process for performers because it's really placing the emphasis back on performance and interaction and live chemistry and things that are happening in real time rather than things that are forced or created after the fact in post. You do have to use your imagination, so it's like working in theatre. You're in this sort of virtual space, really. I mean, there's an actual practical room with hundreds of little mocap cameras around you and, 4 to 6 digital cameras chasing you around for some, facial expressions, which they use as a guide. But they really were, on this particular production, they wanted to specifically capture as much dialogue and use as much original dialogue as they possibly could because of all the, improvisation and the chemistry and the way each take could change because we weren't bogged down by continuity that, in film and television one normally is. So it really brought together, as I mentioned before, the three media for me, theatre, film and television, and also then voice. So I think all the actors that they cast to do this had experience in all of the above, and also it was very important that they found people that would get on well together. So, I was brought in to do a chemistry read with Nolan, and, he had, as the cliche goes, he had me at hello, and I think he said likewise. So I'm glad that they placed value on all of those things, on how the actors related to one another as, just as people on a simple level, knowing that they would have the right combined work ethic to get the day done, but also have fun in the meantime. So mocaps are a great way to work if things like that are prioritized. If performance is key and it is prioritized, then it's sort of heavenly for the actor once you get over wearing the reused smelly sneakers and the silly Velcro suits with the balls on them.
Well, that is very cool, and I'm going to go to a short break really quick. We're going to see if we can work out these technical difficulties at the moment, but stay tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want to hear and nothing you don't. Ever wonder what's going on in the anime world? Check out 918 The Fan every weekday for the newest iStock. We'll fill you in on everything you need to know in 3 minutes or less. Only on 918thefan.com. Alright, sorry about that, listeners. Here on 91.8 The Fan, we're doing everything we can to get this working, but bear with us. We're back, and so you're just going to have to crank up the mic a little bit. And we're here with Claudia Black. Once again, thank you for joining us. And now, I'm curious if you're still there at the moment. During the motion capture, did you find it to be physically harming at all or strenuous?
I'm still actually, sorry guys, I'm having to shout so that I can be heard, so I do apologize. I did actually sustain a hamstring injury doing a lot of the in-game stuff. I was, a little bit, not so much out of shape, but it had been a long time since I'd done much regular exercise after having my second child, and I hadn't stretched, and we had to run and sprint, and I hadn't warmed up at all, and my pelvis was completely out of alignment after having given birth, which I was sort of unaware of on that day, and sort of tore my hamstring attachment, and I'm still recovering from that, but it's slowly getting better.
Ouch! I'm sorry to hear about that. You wouldn't think video games would be so dangerous.
Well, the mocap ones are, but they're more fun.
And now, did you find the experience to be sort of interesting, or have you done motion capture in any other games?
No, this is my first mocap experience.
And were there any mishaps, like I would say bloopers that sort of happened during the experience?
Oh, I'm sure. The thing is, we get asked this stuff a lot, and I mean, the general mood was one of such great levity. We've certainly worked very hard, but I mean, there were so many moments of things happening, or people saying things accidentally, or but they're so fleeting, and to recall any specifically now, of course, when I ask the brain or sort of freezes and can't think of any particular instance. But yeah, I mean, even on sets these days, it's so different. It's all shot on HD, and I think it's cheaper now for them to collect outtakes if they want to. In the old days, unless the take was printed in the lab, it wasn't going to see the light of day again. But we just had such fun every day that really it felt like, in a way, there were bloopers all the time. But we were very focused on the work, and Gordon Hunt, our director, was great at reeling us in. He would let us have our fun and bond as a group, and then he would sort of pull us back in and get us ready to do another couple of takes.
Now, at any point, were you ever just sort of stuck in the booth, or was it all motion capture?
Oh no, definitely in towards the sort of more post-production end, we spend a lot of time in the booth. We filmed basically what was the equivalent to a feature film. We did 90 minutes worth of scenes, cut scenes, but then for the rest of the amount of hours that a player can play the game, we're basically sitting in the booth having to record things for all those, eventualities. So the one thing that they did do that was unique was put us often in the booth, two people at a time, so that we could have more realistic and playful interaction. So I would sometimes be in with Emily, or I'd sometimes, most of the time, be in with Nolan. So that was a slightly different experience in the booth than one would usually have during a video game.
And now, did you think that any scene in particular kind of caught your attention, that it was more fun than the others?
I think for me, the scenes that are always more fun are about relationships rather than technical details. Exposition is always going to feel a little bit clunky as a performer having to deliver that stuff. But for me, the juice of the work is always to do with how the characters are interacting with one another and the effect that they're having on each other. So one scene in particular that was really fun to do was the scene where Chloe comes and visits Nathan in his crappy hotel room and crummy hotel room. Don't know if I can say the other word. And she basically, it's sort of a seduction scene, for want of a better word. And often they'll have very sort of fixed ideas about what they want or what they need in terms of choreography. And occasionally, if something was important to me, I would say, "Oh, can we do it this way?" Or, here are some ideas. And in that scene, they had some room to allow us to come up with things on our own. And I did something with my hands up Nolan's chest with my fingers. I was sort of being playful with him, and Josh, he said to me, the lead animator, he said, it's going to be tough to do because the fingers we didn't have gloves with balls on the fingers, so he would have to hand animate what I was doing with my hand. But he said, just don't worry, just keep doing it, it's worth it, it's a really nice character moment. So it's when those guys were prepared to do things that would probably cost them countless extra hours in their office, in their booth, doing what they do. I mean, animation is such a slow process. And they, as they did avatars, only used what they captured on camera as a guide. They then went in and hand animated all the faces. So too was the process on Uncharted 2. So they had their work cut out for them, and anything that we did additionally, it was very good-spirited of them to allow us to do those things. So that scene was certainly memorable in that regard.
Well, that is very cool. And before I forget, I would like to congratulate you because you were a part of a game that won the Video Game of the Year award at the Spike Video Game Awards.
That's right, and Dragon Age also got a great award that night. I was played Morrigan in that, and I'm also in Mass Effect 2, which just came out. So it was a big 12 months for me in games. It was a lot of fun to be part of these really successful games.
Now, I'm curious, are you a part of the geeky culture at all? Do you enjoy any of the video games that you are voicing it?
My answer to anything related to my work or just even TV or any of the stuff I do, especially television. If you film is only going to take 2 hours out of your life to watch, but you make TV, you don't have time to watch it. If you're really making TV, you really don't have time to watch it. And for me, with 2 young kids and a sort of almost widowed husband, to the work hours and my schedule, I'm not gonna prioritize that sort of recreation. I'm too busy trying to get the more perfunctory and dull things of my life back in order before I can allow myself any fun. I just came back actually from my first holiday without the kids, with my husband, and I just read my first fiction book, I think, for, in maybe 5 years. So, as much as I'd love to sit down and play these games, it's very occasional for me. I had fun helping my husband through some of Uncharted 2, but I'm a bit. I'm not very coordinated as far as using the consoles are concerned. It sort of takes me a while to sort of work them properly because I'm so out of practice. So. I'm not as geeked up as I'd like to be, that's for sure.
No, I understand. That's very common, so I'm not too concerned with that. But you did mention Morgan, and from what I know, Morgan actually got to argue with some of the characters you pick up in the party. That must have been fun.
Yeah, I mean, we actually snuck into a press presentation at the video game conference last year, and the actual thing the specific scene they were showing was one of the camp scenes where the player could choose to interact with Morrigan or one of the other female characters, and Morrigan was clearly painted by the instructor in the room to be the darker, more manipulative witch-type character, and he said, so, do you want to go with the good girl or the bad girl? And everyone in the room was saying, the bad girl, and my friend and I were nudging each other and giggling because, I always end up playing these naughty girls. Morrigan, it was a big role to play, and it was a big responsibility and a lot of fun, and we had a lot of strands to record based on what players may choose to do along their journey playing Dragon Age. It was a really interesting process to go from one type of game to another technically, to go sort of multiplayer and into Dragon Age. So I'll be interested to see what happens. I know that I hear that there might be a Dragon Age 3. I don't know if that's officially been announced, but I think they're going to move forward, hopefully. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see if Morrigan survives into Dragon Age 3 with me along with it.
Well, I certainly hope to see her in the next game, and I was going to ask about the dialogue, since there is so much of it and there's so many different paths. Were you ever confused during the vocal sessions about what it is you were doing?
Well, we have, there were countless pages of dialogue. A lot of it was repetitious, but with a slight tone adjustment. So once you got into the rhythm of it, it was quite easy. But I like things that flow. I don't like lots of sort of bits and pieces. It's hard to sort of really throw yourself into it. But we always had a director in the booth with us, an engineer, and a lot of times we were online to people up at EA in Canada who would give notes as well on what they needed from the character and what they needed from me. And once they were happy and we'd established what we were doing, I would either still have the writer on with me or the director in the room if the stuff was easy. So we certainly weren't left out in the in the dark, floundering, wondering what to do with the characters.
Now, out of sheer curiosity, do you have any upcoming projects that you want our listeners to know about?
Oh, thank you for asking. Well, obviously Mass Effect 2 has just come out. I filmed a movie late 2009 called Rain from Stars. I don't think that's even up under my name on IMDb, but it's certainly up on IMDb, and most other actors have got their credit already. We don't know why there's been a big delay with mine. And a 4 titled Rango, which, the real title, I don't know if it's been published yet, but the Johnny animation film that was directed by Gore Verbinski from the Pirates of the Caribbean films. That's come 2011, and that's another animation film. Extraordinary from what I hear. It's going to be really cutting edge, technology that they're using. But that won't come out until sometime in 2011. But we did actually, it was kind of like mocap without the suits. We all performed together and they casted it on a couple of film cameras, and they're using that as a reference to help them with facial expressions for the animators. And I'm producing at the moment as well, so I'm just desperately waiting to hear about a couple of things, and as soon as I have updates, I'll let everyone know. There's a wonderful website which has nothing to do with me. Personally, I haven't generated it. It's ClaudiaBlackOnline.com, and generally those guys will ask me if I've got anything, anything coming up. I don't have my own personal Farscape Facebook page that I use for publicity purposes. We have set up a Twitter account for One Production Inc. that we've been trying to develop. I've been developing it with some guys that I've been working with. But yeah, Claudia Black Online is a great way to find out, if not from me somehow, at conventions or what have you, about what's coming up. And it's pilot season here at the moment, so this is our time to sort of be out pounding the pavement, trying to get jobs.
Well, now I am curious. I'm unaware if you attend any conventions, but do you have any planned for this year?
Well, for the first time, actually, I'll be attending a convention in Australia, in Sydney and Melbourne. The official dates for the convention are 5th, 6th, 7th of March. I believe the 5th and the 6th are in Sydney, and the 7th is in Melbourne. And Hub Productions are the company who are running the event. And it's DCA Enterprises and Hub Productions present Stargate. So David Blue from Stargate Universe, Ben Browder, and a couple of other people will be attending. And it's the first time I will have attended a convention on home soil. I'm excited.
Well, that'll be actually really cool, because a lot of our listeners are ironically from Australia.
Well, fantastic. Good to hear. I'm really excited to get home and meet some fans and have a chat to them. I have this sort of personal, I have this thing about conventions that I don't want to go to them unless I've got something to say. If I've done a couple of jobs, I'll listen to a couple of conventions, chat about that. I just don't, I just have this, thing. I don't think anyone's going to want to listen to smelly old me, retelling old stories from shows that were filmed, 5 or 10 years ago. So If I have current work up, then I'll get out amongst it. But it's a wonderful, surprising, and rare aspect of genre work that doesn't normally exist for other actors. So it's a great way to catch up with friends that you've worked with, and to connect with the fans, because it's such a passionate demographic and such an intelligent one too. It's really nice energy to be around. People are so supportive and sweet and good-natured and well-humored, and they're always, they're lovely events to be part of. So yeah, it's a double treat for me. I get to be on home soil and be amongst people who are so positive and enthusiastic.
Well, hopefully if you have any stories, whether they be old or new, we are totally willing to listen to them. And now, is there anything else that you wanted our listeners to know about, or is that it at the moment?
I've just come back from a holiday and I'm all brain dead. I think I'm still waiting to hear official news about something that I've been shopping as an executive producer. So, as soon as I have something in writing, I'll be the first one to tell you guys. I don't know who specifically I'll tell first, but it'll certainly be coming from me as soon as I know something. So, stay tuned.
Very awesome, and if we find out about it, we'll make sure to tell everybody on the station.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, this is a great service that you guys provide. It's fantastic to see especially what the internet has done for creative people without, massive budgets. I'm so delighted that it's leveled the playing field, and creativity and talent is coming out from all these corners of the world, and people are able to share and get connected, and it's really fantastic what you guys are doing. So I wish you all the best with the station too.
Oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate that, and we appreciate you being on the show too.
Oh, not at all. My pleasure. So, if you guys will have me back, if I have any exciting news, I'll let you know.
Of course we will. And before we let you go, I was wondering if you'd like to participate in a 91.8 The Fan tradition.
Oh, what is it?
We usually ask all the people that we have onto the station if they would be willing to do a bump for us.
Do a what?
A bump, as in sort of a short promo on air, so we can get kind of the screw-ups and all that stuff of you saying your name, what it is you do, and then you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
All right. Yeah, my pleasure. The line is terrible, so I hope it works for you.
Well, luckily we can amplify it in our audio editing afterwards. That's always the plus part.
Well, thank you for tolerating this. I know technically it's thrown you a bit of a curveball today. I let the viewers know it's my bad. It's nothing to do with 91.8. It's just I don't have a landline, so we're on a very, very muffled line today. I'm sorry to everyone out there listening. I hope you've been able to hear the interview.
Not at all. We just appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Thank you. My pleasure.
And whenever you're ready.
Okay. Hello, everyone out there. I'm Claudia Black, your resident Chickwid Gun, and you are tuned in to 98.1 The Fan.
It's 91.8 The Fan. You were close, though.
What did I say? 98.1? Oh, I've got dyscalculia. What an idiot.
It's okay. We've had it happen before, so don't worry.
Did I say 98.1?
Yes, you did.
Oh, I totally reversed my numbers. Sorry about that.
Not at all.
Hi, everybody. I'm Claudia Black, your favorite Chickwid Gun, and you're listening to 91.8 The Fan.
Thank you so much. That was perfect. And as I said, we appreciate you being on the show.
No, my pleasure. All the best with it.
And we're going to go to a short break, so make sure to stay tuned. Here's some Kodakumi with Cherry Girl, only on 91.8 The Fan.